Good morning again, everyone. Welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. Today, another day on mullet. Getting close to the end here. Getting real close to the end. So close, I can taste it. Yeah, maybe that's a little weird. Anyways, today is a project that I've been putting off for a while. And it's got to do with the doors. I mentioned it before in an earlier episode. But today we just got to do it. So the doors need to go on it so that I can mount the front end so that I can build the race front fuel cell. So you guys may have seen the fuel cell we had on it at Cleetus and Cars, both Bradenton and Indy. But obviously the fuel cell is gone now. Just got my lines hanging down there. Probably going to end up remaking at least the return line, which is fine. Kind of had planned for that. We just put a fuel cell on it to get it to the event, but got to do the doors, got to do the front end, do the fuel cell, take the front end back off, build the bar around the fuel cell. And then after this episode, we should be headed for the dyno. Then a few more little things that need to be fixed. Not fixed, but a few things need to be finished. Mount the parachutes, do the tonneau cover for the bed, and then we're headed for a racetrack. So not that many more episodes to wrap this thing up and start taking her to the track. All right, it's time to get started on this thing. Let's get to work. All right, well, while you guys are here, please subscribe to the channel, give us a comment and a like, and click your notification bell so that you'll see whenever we release a new video. Like I said, we should be hitting the dyno with this thing either next episode or the episode after on the channel. And I'll show you guys a couple more of the things that we've done since the last video, and then show you what exactly we're diving into today that I don't want to, but I've got to. So here we go. So you guys can see we've got all of the rear wiring done there. We ended up moving it over there. It's plenty far away from any water that may be splashing out of here, which there shouldn't be any water splashing. The only time that there could be any spill there is dumping some ice in, but this board is pretty well weatherproof anyways. All the relays are sealed, but it's just not going to get water on anyway. There's going to be a tonneau cover over this entire bed when we're done. And just that's what it's going to be. So on to the water tank. A couple of you guys noticed that we hadn't done a baffle in the tank. And I probably could have done that in a little bit better of an order, but I went ahead and capped it just with how the order of the pieces they got made. And we did go back and put a baffle in it. But if you see, we've also got some wires going into the tank. Well, what are we've got a pump there. Why do we have a bilge pump inside the water tank? Well, in a lot of my road racing stuff, I do endurance road racing, if you guys didn't know that. But we run a piece of equipment that's called a cool shirt. And basically what it does is there's a cooler you bolt into the car, and it has a pump inside of it, and you wear a special shirt that has capillary tubing all throughout your shirt. That keeps your core cool while you're racing. Because I mean, the racing that I do, we race for 2 hours straight, come in and pit, switch drivers, next driver goes out for 2 hours. Well, hot races, especially here in Florida, or just being inside of a race car, it can be 150 degrees inside the race car. If you can keep your core cool, you can keep your head in the game longer, which makes you faster on the racetrack. Well, obviously we're not going to have that problem with Mullet just making 6-second drag racing passes. But when we're driving between track to track, thought it might be nice to have the option for Cleetus and his co-pilot, which is going to be me for the Midwest drags, but to have the opportunity to use a cool shirt system while they're driving down the road. So the pump, you can see the pump feeds a hose. The hose comes out here. These are insulated lines here that are going to go in through the cab, and then I've got to build a little manifold that will mount down on the transmission tunnel, and then each passenger can plug in their shirt to the little manifold, and then with a flip of a switch they have ice water pumping through their shirt. They're awesome. If you haven't used one and you do any kind of endurance racing, circle track stuff, so far what I have found is the weight is worth the penalty. It's about 35 pounds of weight for a normal system, but since this car already has ice water in it, we might as well use it to be able to keep the drivers cool. So that's that. You can see our fuel cell is all done and plumbed. So we've just mounted the regulator right here on the cell here. And you guys, we talked about leaving how we've left our vent lines long, and the cell can be moved in one of 5 different locations. And probably in one of my other videos, I'll put 10 gallons or so of fuel in that, or maybe just even leave it dry. And we'll move the cell from the back all the way to the front. And while the car is on the scales, we'll look at how much the weight changes, just to show you what going, if you think of the axle here, well, the weight being back there is actually leveraging off of the rear axle to lift the front of the car, or to remove weight from the front of the car. Center of the axle just should be probably where we'll end up with it most of the time. We'll see. And then forward of the axle, if the track is really good and we need to shift some weight forward in the car, we'll move it to the front of the axle. Or like I said, if we want to go real fast, we'll just take it out. So on to today's project, which I've really been putting off for a while. It's got to do with the doors. We're going to cut these crash beams out of the doors. Well, you can even tell, even the inside of the door is all painted pretty. And obviously the outside of the doors are painted pretty. So how am I going to get those out of there without making a total mess of the doors? Well, we're going to try. So thankfully we had the old doors from the car to get a lot of the windshield or the window hardware out, because when they painted these doors, they took all of the hardware out, got lost at the body shop or lost around Cleetus's shop. Whatever, they're not here. So thankfully I had some doors to practice on again, because it's been a few years since I've done one of these. But we're actually going to go in, and you can see the spot welds. Maybe you can. So there's spot welds there and there and there that hold the beam to the inner door skin. So we're going to drill those out, and then we are going to actually make a cut. And this is the really part that's not a lot of fun. There's spot welds down here too, and I'm either gonna drill the spot welds out here and then just make a piece, maybe make a little piece of carbon trim, and we'll just use some epoxy to lay it on there, or I'm gonna just make a cut with a cutoff wheel, and then I'll come back and TIG weld it back together, because it'll just be a little 1/16 of an inch wide cut, and I can TIG weld that back together. And yeah, it's going to mess up the paint on the inside of the door, but we won't hurt the paint on the outside of the door. So that gets it loose inside of the door, but I've also got to be able to get it out. So we're going to take this back out, take the door handle off. I've actually bought new door handles, because ew, we can't have rust on this car. Ew. So when I practiced on the other doors, I came in with a cutoff wheel and I made a cut through there. I slide a piece of aluminum between this beam and the outer door skin to protect it for when it finally slices through. And then Once I get that slice made, then the end piece is loose, and then I slide it down, I do another cut, slide it down, do another cut. It ends up taking 3 to 4 cuts to cut the beam up into pieces to get it out. Now, if it was just a race car, well, one, we probably have fiberglass doors on the car with Lexan windows, but that's not for this car. This is going to be a street car with power windows. So I need to leave as much of the inner structure in the door as possible so that the door and the window has support and isn't all flopping around and just falling out of the car. So I'm gonna get to work. I've got my bench set up. I'm actually gonna pick this up, set it outside, and get to cutting. Here comes the time lapse. Just giving you a warning. All right, well, after a solid day's work, Mullet El Camino now has the doors back on for the final time. I hope so. I'm thinking we can put the glass in and everything while it's on the car. Weather strip, all that other stuff. We did get the inner and outer door handles installed. Got those on there. I did new inner door handles. Tell you what, the new aftermarket stuff is just not the same quality as the original GM stuff, but at least it's not gonna break. My G-body has the same inner door handles as this, and I cut my hand really bad one time with the factory door handles, that one of them broke and they're cast and like sliced the side of my hand real bad, so I put new ones on just to avoid that, hopefully. But we got the fenders kind of loosely mounted, and tomorrow I'm going to come in and get the front mounted and then work on my fuel cell. So I'll probably do a video on that, and then the day after that it's time for the dyno. I know you guys have all been wanting to see it on the dyno. All right, so the plan is for Cleetus to come up next week once we get the fuel cell redone here, and then we'll be dyno tuning it. And then the couple of days after that, hopefully we're just finalizing the headlights and taillight harness, getting the power windows put in, and then Cleetus and I will be taking this thing back down to Bradenton to do some testing, and then it's off to the Midwest drags, where me and Cleetus are gonna try out that event. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody following along, and we'll see you in the next one.